the final few months of a once proud promotion. I'm Joe Retton with the retro review of WCW Thunder from January 3rd, 2001. You know, if WCW had just been smart, they had actually had any goddamn leadership, from the top all the way to anybody that dealt with talent, they would have been able to hit the reset button properly, introduce new talents, and carry the company on for a few more years. I don't know if it would have gone on past 2005, 2006, but fucking hell, it would have never been as hot as it once was, but at least it wouldn't have been reduced to this, because fucking hell, even with the efforts of the talents and the various people working backstage, this company was fucking dead, and it deserved to be shut down. I felt bad for everybody that had to go to WWE or go wherever else and continue their careers and rise back up, but my god, this company was so fucking lifeless at this point. The Mid-South Coliseum crowd basically reacted to pretty much nothing. I think like 20% of the show. And to be fair, WCW is not giving anybody anything to, react to at this point, at least in a positive way. And the first Thunder of the new year, they are 11 days away from Sin because they had 2 Nitros and a Thunder that were, best of shows because they didn't want to run that because they didn't think anybody would watch, and they were wise to do that and also give their talents the holidays off. So, Team Canada talks about what Mike Awesome has for them. It's the Partridge Bus with Team Canada colors. Pretty cool, eh? An actual line from Mike Awesome. Shivani, Tenay, and Stevie Ray on commentary. Flair shows up and basically talks about Sin Sunday. Sounds like Flair for 40 years of his life. And it's actually the WCW pay-per-view Sin, where, holy shit, I'm not looking forward to reviewing that Sid leg break. Ooh, that was really goddamn brutal. He talks about Goldberg's streak being on the line, Scott Steiner in the main event, and then Jarrett shows up and says, hey, who's the mystery man? Don't tell me. I'm going to crack you over the head with this guitar, and I still won't draw a dime. He didn't say that last part, but he might as well have, because he never drew a goddamn dime, because Jeff Jarrett was not a fucking main eventer. And this took forever. It's like 20 years later, we're still doing these long opening promos on WWE television. Maybe WCW did win the war, and they just took over WWE eventually. So, if Jarrett loses in the main event, Sid takes his place. Which is funny, because that's actually what ends up happening, but they do it in a really stupid way. So, Sid is here. He's going to face Jarrett in the main event. Footage from Starrcade. Flair says, I can't reverse the decision where Sid clearly beat Steiner, but I can make it right by putting him in the main event. Except he's in charge of the company, so technically he could do that if there was wrongdoing, but whatever. Then Sid yells, Mama says it be that way sometimes. And then we get Shane Helms versus Jamie Noble. Helms is the number 1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship held by Chavo Guerrero Jr. Match was decent. Nightmare on Helm Street, 1, 2, 3. And then we get a melee afterwards. We get a lot of melees before and after matches during this show because WCW, just for whatever reason, was still dealing with the mindset of having car crash TV. Evan Courageous runs in, then Moore runs in to fight him off, and then Chavo runs down and lays out Helms to hype up the match that's going to happen at Sin. And then Conan and Skipper are having a verbal spat, and then Mike Awesome joins the beatdown, and him and Skipper just beat the shit out of Conan, which leads to a match that they're going to have at Sin. And then we get MIA versus Natural Born Thrillers. It's actually 4-on-2 because Hugh Morris either isn't medically cleared or whatever the fuck it is. I tune out every time Mike Sanders talks because he's not a very good talker and he definitely wasn't a very good wrestler. He, basically says, hey, Hugh Morris, you got to stay outside of the ring. Whatever. So 4-on-2, Lash LaRue and The Wall, and they get beaten down, and LaRue gets pinned by O'Hare because it's 4-on-2. And then Chavo comes out to help MIA? Maybe? Weird? Don't know what's going on. Douglas then just shows up and doesn't really do anything. Shane Douglas just wandering out, not having a clue what the fuck he's doing. To be fair, I don't think anybody knew what the fuck they were doing here. And we get the Filthy Animals talking strategy, and then Ray has some bag of some sort. Then we get Crowbar with Daphne versus Ming with Paisley. And Stevie Ray had a thing about calling women yaks for whatever reason, and he called Paisley, who was all in pink, pink-infested yak. I don't get what Stevie Ray had against all the women in wrestling. Was that, or at least in WCW, was that just his shtick? Did he just make fun of women being at ringside? What was going on there? Stevie Ray seems like a cool guy. Why'd they make him do this stuff? It was a chair on a pole match, by the way. Because Russo, even though he was sent home like about 2.5 months prior, or about 2 months prior, let's just, fucking continue the pole stuff. He was actually on a hook, but chair on a hook match doesn't sound nearly as good. And this was not good. Lots of screaming from Daphne. Still find Daphne really attractive even after 20 years. She has aged really gracefully. This was absolute shit. Sad, because Crowbar and Ming are really goddamn good. Ming, even at this point in his career, when he'd been wrestling quite a bit. And the women fight over the chair, and then Tongan Death Grip gets the victory for Ming. And then we have Jindrak versus Goldberg. Squash. Goldberg wins. The clock is ticking. Goldberg talks about his match at Sin, teaming up with Sarge against Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. Team totally buff. Ernest Miller with Miss Jones versus Reno. Bad. Really bad. Because Miller was never all that good. He was over with the crowd, but that was about it. Eventually, some buckle spot, feliner kick, 1, 2, 3. Miller says he's going to eat Sanders' ass like a pot of something. Collard greens, I think is what it was. Collard greens, I actually have no idea what that dish is. I couldn't quite understand Miller because the audio was kind of, a little bit goofy. And then Storm runs down Duggan and says that he will face Awesome tonight. And he does, and it wasn't good because Duggan at this point was diminished, and which is going to happen with how many years he had in wrestling, and also the fact that he fought through and beat Cancer, which is great. Cancer's a goddamn bitch. Top rope slash, 1, 2, 3. Filthy Animals then run off Team Canada and say, hey, look at the video screen. And eventually the tech crew wakes up and realizes, shit, we need to put the footage up there. And the Team Canada bus was vandalized. And then we get Sergeant Dwayne Bruce, or Sarge Dwayne Bruce, whatever, versus Buff Bagwell. It was just hype for the tag match at Sin. Luger shows up. Goldberg is going to come out and help his buddy, help his trainer. Chronic beats him down. And then puts him in a box and then forces a forklift driver, that's hard to say, take him out of the arena. And apparently it was really goddamn cold because everybody was in a goddamn coat whenever they were outside. To be fair, winter weather really does fucking suck. At least in most of the country. So then, yeah, that was ridiculous. Back in the ring, Luger and Buff just lay out Sarge. They put his hand in a chair so he's got like a busted hand. And it was a DQ. Actually, Sarge beat Buff in 2001. Jarrett then does typical promo. Chosen One, blah, blah, blah. And then we cut to the Thrillers being attacked by Nash and DDP. It was an inside job, despite the fact it was outside. We said versus Jarrett, it was less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. It was sloppy. Really, really bad. The mystery man shows up and unmasks, and oh my god, Scott Steiner. Except he's not the mystery man. He just dressed up like that in one of the worst outfits. It was like a really bad Jason knockoff. And then they beat him down and everything, and that's it. So Sid wins by DQ, so technically he's in and Jarrett's out, but they'll find a way to get out of that because they always fucking do. That's it for that. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of these retro reviews in, like a week or two time, because I'm just going to be binging a lot of these when I can, because I'm trying to get through all this while I try to also do the weekly project. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought of WCW at this point in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.